Teep kick, also known as a front kick, straight kick, a foot jab, and a push kick. Targets on the opponent would be to the head, the solar plex, the hip, or the knee. We're going to start out showing the rear teep kick, the rear foot jab. This is what the foot jab looks like, the rear foot jab. It's an extension from the hip, almost like a snap at the knee, lifting up on the ball of your foot, kicking with the ball of your foot. And an extension out towards the target. If we start with the foot position, when you kick, you lift up on the ball of your foot. When you land on a target, you ideally want to land on the ball of your foot. If it's more of a defensive tactic, then you can use the flat of your foot. If it's offensive, you can use the ball of the foot. If you're very flexible in your ankle, you can also use the heel. So when you work this foot jab, you're lifting up on the ball of your foot to get that extra explosion into the kick and making contact on the target with the ball of your foot and extending out. It's the rear foot jab. With the hand position, you can do 3 different things with your hands. Number 1 is you can keep them up in your defensive position. Foot jab, keeping your hands up and extended. Okay? You can swing the same side arm of your kicking leg past your hip. This helps to generate a little bit extra power, speed and power on that particular foot jab. So extending that same side arm while the other opposite arm, opposite hand stays up for protection. So swing the same side arm. The third option with your hand is to extend it straight out. The same side arm as your kicking leg just extends straight out. It's more of a defensive purpose. So you extend it straight out and keeping it up. So it's the same side arm of your kicking leg. So again, 3 hand positions, keeping your hands up and tight, defensive mode. You can swing it past your kicking leg's hip for a little extra speed and power, or you can extend it straight out in front of the leg that you're kicking with. Okay, with the body, you're going to think that your hips are going to be pushing forward while your shoulders are extending back. If you think one or the other as you're working the technique, the other body part is going to work with it. So if you think hips forward, your shoulders will automatically go back. If you think shoulders back, your hips will automatically go forward. So when I extend this towards the target, I get my hips going forward with it. That helps to give a little bit extra range on the kick, more power into the target, and it also puts your head back, so it kind of clears it from any kind of striking options that your opponent might have, because the range is so far. So when I work this rear teep kick, I'm going to pop my hips forward and shoulders will automatically come back. And it keeps, again, my head out of range of that opponent. So hips forward and shoulders back with the body position. So your footwork, get up on the ball of your foot, kick the target with the ball of your opposite foot. Your hands, you have your 3 positions, both up, one swinging or extension. And your hips will go forward and your shoulders back. This rear foot jab is good for offensive or defensive purposes. The way we're showing it here right now is more of an offensive technique. Okay. The second one, we're going to work on number 4. The second one is called a switch foot jab. This now will be kicking with the lead leg. The switch foot jab looks like this. It's just a quick switch of my feet and then extending out. Quick switch of the feet and then extending out. The idea with this is solely an offensive technique. Okay? This gives you a little bit more range to the target and a little bit more power. But it takes a little bit more time. So this would be maybe if you stun your opponent or you have them distracted in some way, you've hurt them, and maybe you can sneak this one in. But again, it takes a little bit more time, but there is a lot of power behind it. So when you switch in your feet, in the foot motion, it's really short and quick. You have to stay up on the balls of your feet or even your toes. So when I switch from my stance, my rear foot will go forward, my lead foot back, and when I switch, it's so short that the foot that was in the rear heel is going to be in line with my toe of my opposite foot. So what you want to try to avoid is too much of a switch step. It takes too long, opponent will see it coming. So it has to be really short and quick. Again, switching on the balls of your feet or even your toes and into the target. real quick switches of feet. Again, same ideas, the same principles of the rear teep kick or foot jab, up on the ball of your foot. Kicking with the ball of your foot, hands up, or you can have a swinging arm or an extension arm. But it's a quick switch of the feet. This particular kick, again, develops more range and power on the kick towards the opponent. The third and fourth one are off this lead leg. One's more of a defensive technique, one is more of the offense. This is the lead teep kick or lead foot jab. First with the more offensive oriented one. We're going to work a footwork called a pendulum step. Pendulum step is when the back foot will come into the front foot and lift front foot and kick into the target. So it looks like this. I pendulum into the target. So the back foot will pendulum into the front, into the target. That's more for offensive purposes off the lead leg. Again, same principles as the other. Get up on the ball foot, kick with the ball of the foot, or a heel if you're flexible in your ankle. Hands are up, hand swinging or hand extension. So again, more offensive oriented lead teep kick or foot jab. If you're working your lead foot jab for defensive purposes, and a lot of times a teep kick or foot jab is referred to more as a defensive technique. I think it's just as much offense as it is defense. At least it can be utilized that way. But if you use it as a defensive technique, primarily you'd use the lead leg, although you could use the rear one as well. But with this one, you're going to stay planted on the ground. So his back foot can either be facing forward, straight at your opponent, or you're going to put a little bit of an angle on and be basing off this foot angled as your toes are angled outward. Okay? Also, if your timing is good and you're pretty quick, you could use this as a defensive kick and also lift up on the ball of your foot. But if we work this lead foot jab as a defensive technique, the opponent is pressuring us and they're pretty quick. They get on us pretty quick. This is our way to counter that, to keep them off of us. So I'm going to same motion with my leg, planting on the back foot, and extending. Hands will stay up for defensive purposes. Because this is defensive, the arm swing really wouldn't come into effect too much. You're not looking for power so much on this, you're just looking to keep that person off you. It's almost like you're stopping the person in their tracks. It's almost like a stop kick. So we're kicking up and extending out. Back foot plants, again, you can have the toes pointing at them in some scenarios, or you can angle out. Staying flat on that back foot. When you work this foot jab, just make sure that it's coming from the hip and your extension from the knee. One thing you want to think of is when you're first learning at the beginning level, you can refer to it more as that push kick. And the push kick again will be more defensive. So you could, as you're first learning it, you can practice bring your knee straight up and then extending out. So you bring your knee straight up, almost like you're throwing a knee, and then you extend it out. Knee up, extend it out. But as you start to develop it, and you want it to be a little more quicker and more explosive to the target, it's actually going to come off the ground at about a 30-degree angle into the target. So instead of lifting and pushing from midair, you're going to take the power from the ground into the technique, into the target. So it'll go right from the ground into the target. So instead of the push, it's straight up, it's like a 30-degree angle right up into the target. And in. Makes it a lot more quick and powerful on that rear foot jab. And extend it out. So again, the main principles, getting up on the balls of your feet, hands are up, you have three different options, the hand swing or the hand extension. Hips will go forward, shoulders will go back. Bringing that angle of the kick up at a 30-degree angle so it's much quicker and more powerful. But again, learning at a beginning level, you might want to work more of the knee up and pushing out at the target. And as you develop it, more of that 30-degree striking angle. So here are your four options for your teep kicks. Number one, the rear foot jab. Number two, the switch. Number three, offensive lead with a pendulum. And number four, more defensive mode, just trying to stop that person from engaging in on you. Plant that back foot and keep them away. Number one, the rear teep or foot jab. Number two, the switch. Number three, the pendulum in. More offensive. And number four, the defensive mode, keeping that person off of you. just using that lead leg. So those are the main principles of the Muay Thai Teep kick or foot jab. Straight kick, front kick, or sometimes referred to as a push kick.